Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. October 15, 2025. A date that will be remembered in European history. The political map of Europe has changed overnight, not by war, but by a single audacious decision. This decision has sent shockwaves through the continent and beyond. Hungary, a longtime EU member, has joined the BRICS bloc, aligning itself with China and Russia. This unexpected move has left many questioning Hungary's future within the European Union. This move is a direct challenge to the Western-led order that has shaped Europe since the Cold War. The echoes of past conflicts and divisions are now reverberating through modern diplomacy. Hungary now straddles two worlds, the EU and BRICS, raising urgent questions about the future of Western unity. The balancing act between these two powerful blocs is fraught with complexities and potential conflicts. Can a nation truly serve two masters with opposing interests? The tug-of-war between East and West is more than just a political dilemma. It's a question of national identity and strategic direction. For the EU, this is an existential test of its cohesion and power. The unity of the European project is at stake, and the response to Hungary's decision will be crucial. For NATO, it's a security dilemma, a member state deepening ties with Russia. This development could have far-reaching implications for the alliance's strategic posture and collective defense. For BRICS, it's a strategic win, a crack in the Western wall. The inclusion of Hungary strengthens their position and challenges the dominance of Western alliances. Hungary's gamble could set a precedent for other restless nations, reshaping alliances and the global balance of power. The ripple effects of this decision could be felt for years to come. To understand what's at stake, we must trace the path that led Hungary here. The historical context and recent developments provide crucial insights into this bold move. Hungary's pivot eastward is the result of years of growing friction with Brussels, a tension that has been simmering beneath the surface for more than a decade. What began as hopeful cooperation has gradually turned into a complex web of disagreements and mutual suspicion. Since joining the EU in 2004, Hungary's government, led by Viktor Orbán, has repeatedly clashed with EU institutions over fundamental values like democracy, the rule of law, and media freedom. These disputes have not only played out in parliamentary debates and legal battles, but have also spilled onto the streets, with citizens protesting both for and against EU influence in Hungary's domestic affairs. The rift deepened after the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, when Budapest refused to sever its energy ties with Russia. While most EU countries moved quickly to reduce their dependence on Russian gas, Hungary argued that its economic stability and energy security depended on maintaining these connections, setting itself apart from the rest of the bloc, and fueling further criticism from Brussels. The introduction of Hungary's controversial sovereignty protection law only deepened mistrust. Brussels saw it as a tool to silence dissent and restrict civil society, while Budapest insisted it was a necessary defense of national identity and self-determination. The law became a symbol of the growing gulf between Hungary and the EU. These ongoing disputes have fueled a powerful narrative within Hungary that the EU is overreaching, imposing its will on member states, and threatening national sovereignty. This perception has pushed the Hungarian government to look for alternatives and to question its place within the European project. In response, the government launched its Eastern Opening policy, seeking closer economic and diplomatic ties with countries like China, Russia, and other non-Western powers. This shift was not just about economics. It was a pragmatic and strategic move to diversify Hungary's alliances and reduce its dependence on the West. Hungary's decision to turn toward BRICS is the logical outcome of this long, bitter standoff with the EU. It represents a dramatic reorientation of foreign policy, signaling that Hungary is willing to chart its own course, even if it means breaking with decades of European integration. This is more than just a diplomatic maneuver or a temporary disagreement with Brussels. It's a fundamental redefinition of Hungary's place in the world, and a statement about its future ambitions on the global stage. The seeds of this realignment were sown in years of unresolved conflict, and today, Hungary stands at a crossroads, its next steps watched closely by both allies and critics alike. As ties with Brussels frayed, Hungary built powerful partnerships in the East. Chinese investment poured in, railways, factories, and tech giants like Huawei, making Hungary Beijing's key EU gateway. Politically, Hungary shielded China from EU criticism, earning economic and diplomatic rewards. Simultaneously, Hungary deepened its energy dependence on Russia, defying EU sanctions and moving ahead with joint nuclear projects. These relationships weren't just reactions, they were strategic, giving Hungary leverage and security. By 2025, Hungary was already aligned with BRICS' core members, balancing East and West. This multi-vector approach made Hungary both a bridge and a wedge in global politics. The groundwork for joining BRICS was laid long before the formal announcement. In March 2025, Hungary's BRICS membership became official, a first for any EU state. The move was celebrated by BRICS as proof of its growing influence, and by Hungary as a triumph of sovereignty. Years of economic and diplomatic courtship paid off, with Beijing and Moscow fast-tracking Hungary's entry. The ceremony was filled with talk of multipolarity and mutual respect, a direct challenge to Western dominance. BRICS nations hailed Hungary as a bridge to Europe. Orbán claimed it would boost Hungary's influence and opportunity. But in Western capitals, the move was seen as defiance, not diplomacy. Hungary's dual membership triggered alarm in Brussels and Washington, setting off a political crisis. The question: can Hungary remain in the EU while openly aligning with its rivals? The answer will shape Europe's future. Hungary's BRICS pivot had immediate consequences, most visibly in its veto of Ukraine's EU accession talks. Even after Russia dropped its objections, Hungary blocked progress, citing minority rights but raising suspicions of ulterior motives. Many see this as leverage for concessions from Brussels or as a favor to new BRICS allies. The standoff has paralyzed EU expansion and exposed deep divisions. Hungary's actions are viewed as sabotage by some, undermining EU solidarity at a critical moment. The veto is now a symbol of Hungary's eastward drift and the EU's vulnerability. The crisis over Ukraine is just the first test of Hungary's new allegiances. The stakes for European unity have never been higher. Hungary's decision to join BRICS has sent shockwaves through the heart of the European Union, shaking its very foundations and raising urgent questions about the future of European unity. Leaders in Brussels, Paris, and Berlin are alarmed, viewing Hungary's move as a profound breach of trust and a direct challenge to the core values that bind the Union together. The sense of betrayal is palpable, with many fearing that this could set a dangerous precedent for other member states. Across the continent, calls for sanctions and even expulsion are growing louder. Yet, the EU finds itself in uncharted territory, lacking a clear legal or political roadmap for handling a member state that openly aligns with a rival geopolitical bloc. Hungary's bold move could embolden other nationalist governments in Eastern Europe to challenge Brussels' authority, threatening to unravel decades of integration and cooperation. The risk of a fractured, à la carte Europe, where countries pick and choose their allegiances, has never felt more real. Security concerns are mounting rapidly. As a member of both the EU and NATO, Hungary now occupies a unique and precarious position, sitting inside Western institutions while simultaneously aligning itself with their strategic adversaries. Fears of espionage, intelligence leaks, and compromised operations are no longer hypothetical. European security agencies are being forced to reconsider how, and with whom, they share sensitive information. The trust that has long underpinned Europe's alliances is eroding at an alarming pace, threatening the very fabric of cooperation that has defined the post-war era. Hungary's dual allegiance is more than just a political headache for Brussels. It represents a significant and growing security threat, with implications that could reverberate far beyond the continent. The European Union now faces a defining test of its unity, resilience, and ability to adapt in the face of unprecedented internal and external challenges. Economically, Hungary's BRICS gamble is high risk, high reward. The government touts new markets and investment from China and Russia, hoping to become a commercial bridge between East and West. But the EU remains Hungary's main trading partner. Any rupture could devastate its economy. Sanctions or exclusion from the single market would threaten jobs, investment, and financial stability. Hungary's currency and credit rating are already under pressure from geopolitical uncertainty. Western investors may flee, seeing Hungary as too risky. The government is betting that BRICS growth will offset EU losses, but that's far from guaranteed. BRICS is not a unified market, and regulatory hurdles abound. Hungary's economic future now hangs on the success or failure of its eastward pivot. Hungary's BRICS alignment is a security earthquake for NATO. As a NATO member, Hungary is privy to sensitive intelligence and military planning, yet it's now closely tied to Russia and China. Allies fear leaks and divided loyalties, threatening the alliance's unity. NATO may be forced to restrict Hungary's access, creating a two-tier system and formalizing internal divisions. Hungary's veto power could paralyze NATO in a crisis, as seen in its delays over Sweden's membership. The risk: Hungary could block collective defense to protect its own interests or appease Moscow. For Russia and China, Hungary's defection is a propaganda coup, proof of Western fragmentation. The real story isn't just about Hungary, it's about the unraveling of Western solidarity. Hungary is the wedge, but the prize is a divided West. The security order in Europe is now in question. Europe stands at a crossroads. Hungary's BRICS membership is a direct challenge to the post-Cold War order, testing the EU and NATO as never before. Political unity is fraying, economic risks are mounting, and security alliances are under strain. Hungary's actions have exposed the cracks in Western solidarity, and the world is watching the EU's response. A weak reaction could embolden others. A harsh one could push Hungary further east. The crisis is still unfolding, with consequences for the entire continent. Hungary's pivot may be the first of many, or a cautionary tale. The choices made now will shape Europe's destiny for a generation. Will this be the start of a new era, or the beginning of the end for a united Europe? The Danube divides, and the future of Europe hangs in the balance.